What is up, fellas? Good evening, and welcome to episode like number 87 or something. We've been doing this a while now. It's good to see everybody. Sorry for missing last week. We thought that there was some nasty weather coming through, and it turns out that it did, but it didn't hit us as bad as we were expecting it to. So I could have done a show. You know, the weather was nasty like 30 minutes before we were supposed to start, and by the time 8 o'clock got here, the weather calmed down, and it was like, oops, done told everybody it wasn't happening. So, sorry. So, hope everybody's had a great Labor Day weekend, 3-day holiday for a lot of folks here in the States. So, I'm going to run through a quick rundown of all the folks that are in here. Quinn Perkins, good to see you, man. Third Day RC, Victor RC, EDF Jets, Duan Smith, Prime Modus, Wild Bill, what's going on, man? Hunter Yoakum, Mr. Hanger 51, what's going on, Kenny? Good to see you. Mr. Randy Huffines, good to see you, man. Boss 223, JCB 67. What is going on, folks? Oh, there's Jeff in Lower Alabama. Good to see you, man. Dennis Farley, what is up? Paul Dunn, what's going on? Hey, welcome to the show. If you haven't been here before, it is good to see you. So Quinn Perkins, the virtual fly-in happens on the first Monday of the month. Because the first fly-in or the first show of the month got canceled, we're not going to be doing a virtual fly-in for August. But stay tuned for the first Monday show in September. We'll be doing the virtual fly-in September. So September. That's what I meant. We missed the one for September, but stay tuned for the one in October. The one in August happened. Sorry, man. Tony Spears, Matt M., what's going on, fellas? Eric Tennant, good to see you. Yeah, that's what I meant. I knew it was September. That's probably true. We got the peanut gallery over here. Nate, what is going on? Good to see you, man. So, we got some things to talk about today. But before we get into like the different things that I've been looking at over the last week, I wanted to kind of reflect a little bit and pull on everybody's heartstrings a little bit, maybe. Yeah, I was watching a movie earlier today and it got me thinking, like, you know, why do I do this hobby? Why do I go and fly RC? And I mean, obviously I love aviation. I really love all things RC, as you can see on the table. I mean, we got a little silver Corvette here. Yeah, we got the really awesome 64 millimeter F-15. I love all things RC. If it can go on the ground, I mean, if it is a vehicle and I can attach a radio to it and drive it around with a radio, I think it's the coolest thing ever, and I love it. But for me, you know, it's become so much more than just a hobby that I use, you know, because I enjoy all things RC. So, sorry, I'm just reading the chat a little bit. I have not heard from David yourself in a little bit. He didn't do a show yesterday, did he? It's a little odd.
Playing from damned O2.
So, yeah, hopefully he'll show up here soon. So, yeah, for me, RC has turned into more than just, not just the channel. I mean, obviously, I love it enough to do this channel. I love the hobby enough to give back to the community anytime that I can. But, especially here in the last couple of years, 2020, 2021, I mean, this has been my escape, man. When I have things that, maybe internally I just am not ready to deal with yet, or I just need to turn it off. I need to flip that switch. RC has been an outstanding way for me to go and escape. I've said this before. I mean, when I put these planes up in the air, or I've got a car that I'm driving, whether it's, screaming through the mud or crawling down the trails or riding around on the streets, put a plane up in the air and screaming through the sky, or just relaxing, with the gliders or whatever, that's all I got to think about at that moment in time, and I just have, I know for me, I've had a lot of things go on, personally, both personal and professional and family stuff that has just been a drag. And this past year, has really, RC has been my outlet. I'm not going to say like RC saved my life or anything. I'm okay. But it's become that also, so it's not just the fun anymore. Like when I just need to get away from the world, this is my outlet. This is where I go. And it's a lot healthier than some of the alternatives out there for getting away from the world, for sure. I'm probably not gonna die flying RC. You know what I mean? Yeah, Joseph Cannon, that's not a joke. So, yeah, this is, and in addition to just having it be an outlet, which I think is really healthy for, you know, for our mental state, right? We got to have some way to kind of detach, step away from all the bad crap that's going on in the world and, kind of something therapeutic for us. And, I know for me, like that therapeutic relief that I get from this hobby is phenomenal, whether it's repairing a plane, building a plane, flying a plane, building cars, taking cars apart, putting them back together, painting. I mean, whatever it is that I'm doing, I get a bit of relief from that. And it's awesome. It's an awesome outlet to be able to get away from just the pressure of life and go have some fun, So with that in mind, I know that a lot of us, I mean, we think that we're out here playing with toys, but man, uh, I know at least for me, I'm one of those guys that's like, I'm not going to see a therapist. That's just not my thing. I'm not a therapy kind of guy. These airplanes, these cars, the transmitters, the radio stuff, that is my therapy, man. It's what I do. It's my therapy. Jono Edwards, what's going on? Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll tell you. I mean, it's incredible how little bad stuff I do in my life since I have, really gotten heavy into RC again. I mean, I did RC a lot when I was a kid. Um, you know, it. I always had something RC throughout my time in the Navy, but I really got heavy back into it when I got out of the Navy and moved back here to Georgia. Um, and I just enjoy it. It's so much fun. It's a great. I mean, you guys that fly airplanes, I mean, you know that it can be a great adrenaline rush. Hey, driving cars can be a great adrenaline rush too if you got a fast one. And just all of the ups and downs that come with RC. Like there's a lot of highs and a lot of lows. For those of you guys that have been doing this for a while, it's not always it's not always fun and games, right? Like sometimes you crash and it sucks, but even the crashing is still an escape from the everyday. And hopefully some of you guys can relate to that. I just wanted to kind of share that a little bit. Yeah, Matt M was born because of RC. Somehow I believe that. Oh, Fry Guy. Hello. All right. So, with that out of the way, I just kind of wanted to share that a little bit. Oh, I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. I wanted to say, that starting last year with Jet Jam, that was my first time really going to like a big event in this hobby. And since then, I've been to quite a few more, right? And through those events and getting to meet some of the people that are here, I've also been able to develop some pretty awesome, like lifelong friendships. Stuff that we're just not gonna. I don't envision ever cutting off those relationships, man, with some of the people that I've met. They're just an awesome, awesome group of folks. And as we've seen many times, this, I mean, and I can't say it enough, right? Like this community is amazing. What this community has done for me in my lowest of lows was just phenomenal. And it got me into this kind of spirit of, RC philanthropy. We've done some great things. Speaking of that, everybody that contributed to getting, to our fundraiser for getting a Draco for Lyndon Stewart, who lives down in Guyana, South America. We were able to finally get that Draco on its way to the staging location down in Fort Lauderdale. It is going to be shipping from Miami, hopefully sometime here in the next couple of weeks. We're going to be doing some testing on that equipment. All of the equipment should be in Fort Lauderdale sometime next week. It shipped from California last week, so should be getting there. So that has finally all started to happen. We put all that together this past April. When the Draco was announced, and Lyndon's story just touched me, man. I was like, dude, I get it. You know, it would cost him what would be, you know, based on their like average wage and things like that. Yeah, I mean, he would have to save money for years and years and years to be able to do anything like this. So us as a community, when the Draco was released, we were able to do a fundraiser. We brought together those funds. The airplane has finally shipped. It should be in Fort Lauderdale soon. And I'm really looking forward to Lyndon receiving that, because that was an awesome thing that this community did for some of the folks that don't have the fortune and privilege really to live here in the United States, where, I mean, we are spoiled rotten. We have access to everything. And in South America, where Lyndon lives, they just don't have that luxury, right? They can't get these things immediately. So, you know, that's what's up. That's what this community was able to do. And that was a couple $1,000s, you know, that we dropped on the Draco, the Charger, the batteries. I mean, it was not a, you know, we were able to get a Draco. We were able to get a Spektrum S2200 dual channel smart charger, 2 5000 6S50C smart packs, and an NX10 transmitter. So we're going to be sending all that down to Lyndon after we test it. So, you know, Rich M, if he's in here, and Matt M here in the channel, I had asked them if they would mind, you know, me shipping all of the stuff to their home in Fort Lauderdale. So they have volunteered, you know, some space in their home to be able to stage this equipment. And Rich M is going to be repackaging some of these items into a smaller box. So we're just going to have 2 boxes that we're shipping, and he's going to be able to get it down to Miami to the shipping port to get it on its way down there. We've got an agent that we're going to be working with to get all of the equipment down to Lyndon, and I'm super excited for him to get it. That was, you know, one of the amazing things that this community's done. When Che Hamilton from Hamilton's Hangar, he had a brand new Black Horse L-39, put well over $2,000 into that airplane, and whether it was his fault or not, we were able to raise over $500 to give to Che Hamilton to help him kind of offset the loss of losing that L-39. So I thought that was an incredible moment for the community as well. You know, all the airplanes that I've given away to new pilots, every time I do something like that, it just makes me feel awesome. And even though, you know, it's not something that I want to do tonight because I don't know the gentleman. But Matt M, I need you to take it out of the box, dude. We got to test all the servos and everything to make sure everything works. You at least got to take it out of the box and put the wings on. And, you know, we don't need to put on the horizontal stab, but I need to make sure that all the servos work in the wings, that all the lights function properly. You know, we need to make sure that everything about the airplane is right, that the transmitter's right, that the receiver's right, the batteries function, the charger works. We got to make sure all that stuff is good to go before we ship it to South America, because we can actually get a hold of Spektrum support and get this stuff fixed rather quick. And if we send it down to South America and he finds out that it doesn't work down there, that's not going to be good, right? So, so, you know, I appreciate everything that Matt M and Rich M have done in support of that initiative, and you guys are you guys are great. So thank you guys for doing that. So today, you know, and this was one of the things that really kind of got me reflecting. right? Of why I do this, what our goals are, why do we do RC? And I can't remember the gentleman's name, but some of you may have seen it on Facebook this morning. There was an incident at one of the RC groups that I'm in on Facebook. I can't remember which one. There was a guy, I see his custom airplanes all the time. He's got 4 just spectacular F4s that he's worked on. John Killen, there you go, David Snyder. Spectacular F4s that he's worked on. He's got an amazingly well-weathered E-flite FW190, a massive collection of models, upstanding member of the community. I'm not sure what caused it, but he had a fire that burnt down his garage where, he basically kept all of his airplanes. And he lost everything. He lost everything. All of his F4s, all of his, all that work that he's done, years and years and years of being in this hobby and years of customizations. I mean, you guys know how it is. I mean, you get fire near these things, they're gone. Whether it's foam, balsa, I don't care what it is. But my understanding is that he lost a majority of the stuff that he's done. So while I may not be, kind of lobbying today, over the coming weeks, that's really like the next big fundraiser, right? So not tonight. Yeah, he lost everything. All of his, all the work that he's done for this hobby, all the custom work, everything. The beautiful FW190 he had. I don't even like German planes, but that thing was amazing. And look, I get that he's got homeowners insurance, but he might have homeowners insurance. I hope that he has homeowners or renters insurance, some way, to help make up for that. But it's always nice to know that the community's got your back. So it may not be this week. I want to talk to him first. I want to reach out to him and make sure that, number one, that he's okay, and, find out what we can do for him, if anything. Regardless, I'd like to do something for him. I don't know what it is yet, so, everybody, relax. But that's what I want to do. I want to make sure that he's okay and find out what we can do for him. I could never do the kind of work that he does on airplanes, but it would be something that I'd be willing to give it a shot. Whether that means creating or recreating one of the F4s that he did. I'd love to do that where he doesn't have to do the work. If we can get a free wing F4 here, I can do all the paint work. I mean, he doesn't get my F-18, but the caliber of work that I would put in to kind of reproduce that, you guys know that I'm not gonna deliver him a piece of trash, right? So I want to do something. That was it was devastating for me to see, because I know how devastated I would be if I lost my entire collection of planes and cars and everything. It would just sadden me to no end, and the hobby would never be the same for sure. And this is obviously one of those types of folks that they're so into this and they love it. I just want to make sure that we get this guy back on his feet, man. I think that there's something that we can do more than just insurance money. You know what I mean? Like getting money from an insurance company, that's great. But pouring our hearts into something, that's different. And that's what I want to, that's what I want to do for this guy. I don't know him. Look, a lot of the people that we help, we don't know him personally. I've grown to know a lot of you personally through the fly-ins and whatnot, the Zoom sessions, things like that. But that's what this hobby means to me. That's what this community means to me. And every opportunity that we have to be able to give back, we should seize that opportunity and just be the awesome people that I know we are. You know what I mean? Like, this community is so phenomenal that I know that we can do something great to really help at least bring this guy back into the hobby. So I'll let you guys know next week. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna try to reach out to him. If any of you guys know him, then please get in touch with him on Facebook and have him reach out to me, or you know, whatever we got to do. You know what I'm saying? We can do some great things for him, even if it's just getting one of those free wing F4s and reproducing one of those awesome paint jobs that he'd done. I want to do something cool and do something special for that guy, just because he lost it all, way more than you know, like Hamilton losing an airplane. You know, I mean, we all crash every now and then. I don't know what happened, if this was a lipo fire, if it was a fire caused by something else. It really doesn't matter. I think that this is an opportunity for us to do something really cool for a member of this community. So, like I said, I want to get an opportunity to talk to him, find out what we can do for him, and then I will get back with you guys next week and let you know what we discussed. And we're going to start another fundraising campaign and make some magic happen for this guy, because it's the right thing to do. All right. So now, let's get into some RC stuff. All right. So as you guys know, this past week on Thursday, Spektrum released the all-new 10360 AS3X and safe capable 10-channel receivers. Awesome. Fantastic. I know that a lot of people have been waiting for this, and I think it's great that we finally have one in our hands. It should be shipping in a couple of weeks. So they have them here in the United States. I have no idea. I have no idea, you know, how many are here, but they're in the United States. They're kind of, you know, they're getting them distributed between the California and the Illinois warehouse. The one I got came from California, you know, but they're moving them around, right? So they're here in the United States, ready to go. They should be shipping, I think, in, like I said, in a couple of weeks. And that's awesome. For those of you guys that are interested in one of these, I'd encourage you to go watch my video. I do have a video that I put up on Thursday regarding the 10360T. There were a couple of questions that have come up in that video that I wanted to address tonight. One of them I addressed in a Zoom session, but not everybody jumps into the Zoom sessions. So, oh, Ken Bird, that's a good thing to know there. So apparently you have to have like a special rider on your insurance policy to cover hobby-related items. So I need to be talking to my homeowner's insurance folks. So to Defrost and Victor and whoever the third person was that won a prize a couple of weeks ago, yes, I have sent those emails out. We're just running a little behind on things. So the Meteor and the SU-26 and the Night Radian, we haven't forgot about you. We're just having to put, the shipping of those things on hold for a little bit. So, they're prizes, and normally I'd like to ship them out right away, but rest assured we have not forgotten about you, and we will definitely be getting those on the way as soon as possible. All right. So like I was saying, the 10360T, I was asked, RC Roland, thanks, man. I'll check that out after the show. That's cool. George Watts, I haven't heard from Dave, man, and hopefully Shadow talks to him regularly. I haven't heard anything from him. The only person I know that talks to him on a fairly regular basis would be Shadow. So it may be worth trying to get in touch with Eric and see if he knows what's going on. So a couple of questions that came up about the 10360. One of them was, if you guys haven't watched the video yet, the 10360 has a micro USB port on the top. So the old Spektrum programmer cable that you used to need to update receivers and do all that stuff, that Spektrum programmer cable you don't need with the 10360. But the question was asked, hey, if you have one of the old Spektrum USB programming cables, does it still work? And the answer to that is yes. I have tested it. It does work. And you can use the USB programming cable. I believe it's the SPM A3065 USB programming cable. So, yeah, David Snyder. So, yes, the old school Spektrum USB programming cable does work on these receivers if you prefer to do it that way. I can see where a lot of people would prefer to have the micro USB cable. That way you don't need that Spektrum programmer cable anymore. All right. So that was one question. Another thing that I keep hearing, or, maybe we're just not being clear enough, whatever, is, can I plug in my satellites that I have for my 9350T, or my satellites that I've got from my AR7000, or whatever the case may be? If you have DSM2 satellite receivers, they will not work with any of the new Spektrum receivers, right? So whether you're talking the AR637 or the AR10360 or the 8360 or the 8020 or the 6610 or the 10100 or the 630 or the 631, all of these new receivers that Spektrum has released here over the last couple of years use a serial protocol called SRXL2, right? So there's only a couple of satellite receivers that will work with the SRXL2 protocol receivers, and that is the SPM. It's the 4651T. This is a telemetry capable satellite receiver, the 4651. So if you're going to use a satellite receiver on any of the new Spektrum receivers, right? So all the ones I just named, the 637, the 8360, the 10360, the 6610, the 8020, or the 10100, they all need an SRXL2 based satellite receiver. And they're actually just called a serial receiver now. So with these, some of the older satellite receivers, they just had like the little antenna nubs sticking out of either side of them. The newer receivers, so like the 4651, this actually has like full-length antenna leads that you can position any way you like instead of having just the little T across the top. They work fantastic. I have actually used one of these in a drone, and it works great. It is a full range, telemetry receiver. They work great, and that's what you got to have if you are going to use a satellite on any of these new Spektrum devices. So keep that in mind. Your old DSMX or SRXL satellites will not work. You must have an SRXL2 serial receiver in order to work, like the Spektrum 4651T. Moving on. Yeah, I mean, dude, all the Daves. Don't let me be the last one, guys. So hopefully we hear from Dave's RC and we hear from David yourself. Both great guys. A little quirky, a little odd, but aren't we all, right? I mean, we enjoy playing with toys. So we're a little weird anyway. But those are two pretty interesting cats there, and I hope they're doing all right. Also, for those of us that were able to get down to the Pilot Ryan fly-in and meet Tug Hill RC's brother, he affectionately calls him Pappy Tug. So Tug Hill's brother is in the hospital, and he's not doing so great, fellas. So, man, I just feel like this show is just, like all somber news tonight, right? I want to get into something that's not quite as depressing as people's houses catching on fire and, bad things that have happened in the past. But, I'm really hoping for the best, and that Tug Hill's brother is able to, to pull through. Apparently things aren't going so well for him. So if you know Tug Hill, reach out to him and let him know you're thinking about him. Yeah. So, yes, let's talk about airplanes. Let's talk about anything. The OV-10 at Neffy was amazing. Neffy in general was amazing. I don't think I've talked to you guys since Neffy. Yeah, last week's show was going to be, the first one, and it was going to be a fly-in, but Neffy was right before that. So Neffy was amazing. Yeah, we're not going to mention hurricanes either, because hurricanes are terrible. So Neffy was amazing, and I really want to encourage everybody that that's a fairly centralized location up in Indiana. I really want to encourage everybody to try and get to Neffy next year. Uh, it's not a huge crowd like Jonal. Jonal is great, but it's so big and so overwhelming that, you know, it's more of an experience than a fly-in. You know, sure, people get to fly down there, but it's just overwhelming. You know, Neffy is a smaller crowd. There was a ton of great folks there. Lots of vendors that are selling stuff. It was just a great experience and an awesome, awesome flying location. If you know, doing it at the AMA headquarters really makes it a special experience. If you haven't been to AMA headquarters before, it's phenomenal. They've got a great flying field. I think it's something in excess of 1,000 acres, 9 different flying sites. You know, while we were there doing Neffy, there's also a Warbird event happening at one of the flying sites behind us, and there's another glider event that's happening at another flying site. And all you could hear was like the gas engines. You couldn't hear crowd noise, none of that. You know, we had probably 100 people at Neffy, and you couldn't hear anything else going on. I mean, I couldn't even see the planes unless you like got up on a, you know, at a high altitude to go looking for them. It was just an awesome experience. Being able to see like the RC Aviation Museum was an awesome experience. They have some really cool stuff. You know, I really would love to see more folks get out to Neffy every year. I think it's like the hidden gem of all these meets. You know, it's not exclusive to, you know, to any particular kind of plane. So if you want to fly props, you can. If you want to fly jets, you can. If you want to fly gliders, you can. I mean, you can fly whatever you want, as long as it's electric, right? The National Electric Fly-In. And it was just a great experience. I really enjoyed it. You know, we had a lot of great folks there, a lot of great folks that I've met before, a lot of great folks that I haven't met yet. And I just really enjoyed it. To me, it's a better experience than Jet Jam. It's so much more relaxed, you know, but Jet Jam, I get the chaos that happens at Jet Jam because you get these jets up in the air. They're only going to be in the air for for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and you got a lot of planes, and the guy, you know, that's running everything has to be very methodical to make sure that those planes are all going to have a safe place to land. You know, because a lot of times you can have 2, 3 planes all landing on top of each other. I mean, it just gets crazy there. At Neffy, you got 2 awesome 800-foot, like 100-foot wide, just beastly runways. You got you know, a main runway and the crosswind runway. Both of them are 800 by 100 feet. I mean, they're just amazing. It's an amazing facility. And to go just to say that you've been once is great. You know, but I think in the fly-in part of this hobby is one of the things that I think really makes this hobby special. You know, I mean, it's like going to Sturgis if you're a motorcycle rider. It's just one of those things that you have to do. You have to get to Jonal at least once. And I think for those of us that want that level of camaraderie, that want that level of excitement, but we also want to be able to get out and fly, I think Neffy is probably a great mix of all of the things that Jonal brings to the table without the huge crowd. You know, you still have vendor support. You still have, you know, a great flying facility. You can do whatever you want. It's huge, you know, so if you bring a gasser, you're going to be able to fly that too, because there's 9 flying sites at the AMA headquarters. It's just amazing. It's a great experience, and I think everybody should do it at least once. Keith Christie, what's going on, man? All right. So, Nephew was fantastic. Horizon was there, and they had their great big OV10. Man, let me tell you what. That OV10 is a beast of an airplane. It carries a hefty price tag too, but man, if you can afford the price tag, that Hangar 9 OV10 just has a presence in the air that like no plane I've seen before. It is fantastic. What an awesome airplane. I mean, what an awesome airplane. Pork Chop, welcome to the show. Pork Chop asks, in order to set up and enable AS3X and SAFE in an AR631, is it required to register and or update the receiver? The answer to your question is no. It is not required to register it, and as long as your transmitter is up to date. So if you have, say, an NX series transmitter or an IX series transmitter, you're probably good to go as far as getting into forward programming. If you have a DX series transmitter, I believe you need to be sitting on Airware revision 2.07 or later, or maybe it's 2.06 or later to get to forward programming. So not all of the DX series transmitter, I mean, every DX series transmitter, every second gen or better DX series transmitter, so like your DX6, DX8, DX9, DX6E, DX80, the Gen 2, I think DX7, your DX20, DX18, I believe all of those are capable of doing forward programming if you are on the latest version of the Airware software for the transmitter. So while you don't necessarily need to update and register the receiver, if you're using an old DX series transmitter, you may need to register and update your transmitter. So just something to think about. All right. So yes, OV10 Bronco, what an awesome airplane. Just incredible. It's so big. I mean, the thing is incredible. Paul Dayton, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. So yeah, RC Roland has some videos. I know for those of you guys that are on Facebook, Race 22 Crew has posted up a ton of pictures that he took. Just some great stuff from Neffy that's starting to show up in social. I know Pilot Ryan's got a few videos. I didn't even bust out my camera. I didn't bust out my phone. I didn't bust out my video camera, nothing. I was interested in just hanging out with people and talking and laughing, having fun, helping people, and flying. I didn't care, you know, to take a bunch of pictures. And that's what's great about these events. And I kind of want to touch on that a little bit too. You know, I mean, it's fun to go live, and I apologize. I didn't go live during Neffy, you know, the whole Live at 5 thing. It's kind of fun to go live during these things, just to share the experience. But for those of you guys that like want a bunch of video coverage, man, these things, like I said, this is my escape, so like making the videos and everything that I do, I mean, to some degree, this is like a side hustle job. um, but when I go to these meets, when I go to the field, when I'm just going to enjoy myself, that's my escape, dude. That's when I'm wanting to go out and just have fun, fly planes, drive cars, act like an idiot, do silly things with people that I don't get to hang out with very often. These are folks that I get to see maybe once, twice a year, 3 times a year if I'm lucky. Yeah, when I go to these things, man, I like to hang out. I like to, to share those moments with my friends and just enjoy myself. So if you don't see me putting up a lot of videos, from these events, it's not because I hate you guys or because I don't want to share. It's just I'm I'm too busy just being Dave, you know? Mike SSI, what's going on, man? Yeah, George, I don't think I'm going to go to Joe Knoll either. I mean, if Knoll in the Fall happens, it's so close that it's hard not to go. But I say that every year. You know, Knoll in the Fall is the one that I want to go to. I really don't want to go to the big Joe Knoll event. I mean, we're all pretty well tuned to what's happening in the industry through folks like myself, through Pilot Ryan, through, Bobby K. Um, I'll give some plugs to RC Informer and the RC Sailors. I mean, we're showing you what's new. We're showing you the latest and greatest and what's coming out, whether it's, receivers like the 10360 or, whatever. What's up, Dave Nixon? How you doing, brother? So yeah, I mean, when I'm at these meets, man, I'm not taking videos. I'm just flying planes, being an idiot. It's what I do best. Yeah, so that's something that I'd like to experience at least once. George Watts is go to the electric line at Joe Knoll and just have a good time, dude. Not worry about freaking you know air bosses and all the hot garbage that comes with some of these other meets. I just want to have fun. I want to walk up to the line and taxi out and take off. Or here's what I want, right? I want to go to a fly-in, and the fly-in that we did down at Imperial was about the same, whether it was the Boozer event or the Pilot Ryan event earlier this year. If you're in this hobby and you've been here long enough, you know how AMA fields work. We have a good idea. You go to the pilots meeting, you listen to the rules, and you police yourself, right? We don't need, I mean, for the most part, this is a hobby full of grown ass men. I know that there are some kids, there's some, early teens, early 20s, early 30s, but let's be real. The majority demographic of this hobby is like probably 50 plus males. And we're all a bunch of stubborn mules. And you try to stick us all in the same place at the same time and tell us what to do, and everyone's going to get pissy. We're all freaking old bastards, right? You don't need to give us a bunch of rules and then like put the freaking Gestapo on us to make sure that we're following them. You tell me how to do something once, chances are I'm probably going to listen and I'm going to follow your silly rules, even though I may not agree with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, just tell me what the guidelines are. And in the event that we're breaking the guidelines, then come after us. You know what I'm saying? Then come after us. Race 22 crew, I absolutely agree with that. Defrost, thank you so much, sir. I appreciate it. There was definitely some folks at Neffy that I wanted to go and slap in the mouth. Speaking of that, so now we're going to talk about airplanes, because I have a plane here that a lot of you guys will recognize, right? This is the little E-flite F-15 64 millimeter EDF jet, right? A lot of you guys know that. A lot of you guys are very well aware that I made a video on this jet about a year and a half, 2 years ago. So why do I have another one sitting here? This isn't the same one. This is a new one. This one has wheels on it still, and it works. So the reason that I'm sitting here with another one, it's not like they changed the mold. It's not like they changed a whole lot in it, but they did add the AR-630 receiver to this airplane. So instead of having the old AR-631, it now has the AR-630. It is the one with internal antennas, but this thing has such a small battery. It runs a 4S 2200 pack. You get 3 to 4 minute flights, maybe more if you fly like Kenny, Mr. Grandma. So you're gonna get better flight times out of this plane. But the reason I bring that up is this receiver, this AR-630, this is one of their forward programming capable receivers, right? So in order to turn on safe select and all that stuff, I mean, if you guys haven't watched Pilot Ryan's video on how to set up the thrust reversing, so the first video that he did on the Viper 90 millimeter, I actually, come in about halfway in that video and I tell you guys how to set up safe select on these new forward programming based receivers. I may make a standalone video on how to do that as well, because I think it is much easier than the kind of doing it at the bind time. The way that we have been used to setting up safe select on the AR-636s forever. There's a much easier method that uses forward programming. So if you have a forward programming capable transmitter, so like a DX series that's got the latest version of the Airware firmware, or you have an NX series or the IX series transmitters with the latest firmware, it's much easier to set up safe select and you've got more options. You can actually set up a mode that has safe select turned off completely, which is really nice. If you update the receiver using the Spektrum program cable, you can actually go in and adjust some of those values too. So there's a lot of really neat things that we can do with the AR-630 transmitter. And in the description for this live stream right now, there is a link for the F-15. If you haven't ever had one, I'll tell you, these things, there are a lot of 64 millimeter jets out there. This, to me, is one of the best flying 64 millimeter jets there is, period. It's just fantastic. This, and possibly like the free wing 64 millimeter, like high performance F-22, awesome little 64 millimeter jets. I have not had an opportunity to fly the X-Fly T7. That one looks like it flies amazing, but just from my personal experience, I think that the F-15 64 millimeter is just a perfect, small, lightweight, cheap batteries. So if you're looking to do EDFs on a budget, these things are a blast. I love them. So dip down into the description of this video and get you an E-flite F-15 64 millimeter. What up? Yeah, Jeff in Lower Alabama, that's all there is to it, man. Yeah, dude, the FAA is going to change everybody's RC life. We'll figure it out. Dude, defrost, that's awesome, man. And that's the kind of that kind of feedback right there is why I keep making the videos that I make. Speaking of videos that I make, did you guys catch the video that I released about an hour before the show started today? I released a video on the Wingnut Tech light controller. So it's the LED controller for the E-flite Night Radian. So the Night Radian, I am becoming a bigger and bigger fan of the Night Radian every time I put it up in the air. That thing is just a big, gracious beast. It is not here with me tonight because it's in my car, man. It's ready to go. So the Night Radian is awesome, and it has one of the neatest LED light arrays of any plane on the market. There are other planes that are lit up better, but they don't have the RGB functionality that the Night Radian's got, where they can change colors and do all kinds of nifty, light shows and things like that. Race 22 crew, I did not. So when I went to Neffy, and I didn't know this, so you'll get a kick out of this. So the Wingnut Tech light controller that I have in the video, I purchased that like the day that I got my Night Radian. So I got my Night Radian from Hobbytown. I went and I bought it because I wanted to have a plane that I could fly at night at Neffy. Because at Neffy, they don't care, if you fly at night, right? There is no flight restrictions at all. You can fly until, man, like late. So I wanted to get a Night Radian. So I went to Hobbytown. They had two of the new ones there. So I picked one up. And when I got it home, I did a live video, and then I took it immediately to the field. So like the live build video that I've got for the Night Radian, I did that video like the day that I bought it. I came straight home, fired up a live stream, built it, charged up batteries while I was building it, and took it to the field and flew it that night. So all of the flights that I have done with the Night Radian so far, I have never flown it while the sun was up. It's always been at night. I couldn't see anything but the airplane. All I can see is the lights. The thing is just amazing, man. I love flying that thing. It's just gentle as it can be. You can come out of the power and just, it's a glider, obviously, so it'll glide around forever. So I bought the wingnut board that day. And unknown to me, it showed up and was sitting in the mailbox when I left to go up to Indiana. So the mailman had run right before I got in the car to go to Indiana. I had my Night Radian with me. I leave, and about an hour away from the house, Amy calls me up, and she was like, "You've got this little package in the mail." And I know I saw the mailman run before I drove away. It was sitting in my mailbox as I drove away. I drove right by it. If I'd have just stopped and opened the mailbox, I'd have been like, "Hi, Wingnut controller," and I would have brought it to Neffy. So no, my Night Radian had the stock controller in it at Neffy, and I installed the Wingnut controller the day that I got back from Neffy. I put it in, and all the flights that I've done on it since then, I've had the wing nut controller. I just released a video today because I'm lazy and I don't like editing, man. Editing sucks. Pay it forward. Good to see you. Thanks for coming by tonight. Yeah, George, I think that IX-20, it'll last him a good long time. Yeah, so the Night Radian, man, like, it doesn't seem like it would be that great of an airplane, but I love it. I love the Night Radian. It is just so relaxing and it's spectacular. Like when you're sitting there flying and you've got this bird with all the freaking whoosh, 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 just crazy lights going. I mean, it is so cool. I just stare at that thing all night. Just get your bug spray and be ready. Be ready for bug spray, dude. Because the mosquitoes come out at night. So, drench yourself in some Deep Woods Off and get yourself a Night Radian. Put it up in the air. Get you a wing nut controller, because the wing nut controller is what gives you the red and green. So like the green on the right, red on the left, with the strobes. That's how you get that, is with the wing nut controller, and you get like the Cylon mode, and it's got some light shows that the stock controller does not have. And you can do it all right from your transmitter. You can change the modes right from your transmitter. So if you find one that you like, or you find a couple that you like, you can actually like program those into flight modes and things like that, and set up like a bunch of flight modes where you've got like, a couple of switches that you can just move back and forth to cycle through the different flight modes, so you know exactly how to get to the light show that you want instead of using the knob at that point. That's a little more, of a complex discussion, but it'd be a neat thing to do, I think. George Watts, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. For all of you guys that have watched the video, thank you. If you haven't watched the video yet, after the show tonight, be sure to go check that out, man, because I think that's it's a good video for people that are interested in Night Radians. And, really, it's, to me, that wing nut controller is a must-have upgrade for the Night Radian. Like, it is a must-have accessory. If you're going to have a Night Radian, you got to pair it up with a wing nut controller. They've done the development. It's a very simple device. It just slides right in there. You unplug the old controller, you plug in the new one, and you're done. And for those of you guys that missed it, the Night Radian, by default, uses the light controller for the Night Radian actually plugs into the balance lead of a 3S battery. Not a problem, right? What I think is cool about the wing nut controller is the wing nut controller, because it's controlled by your transmitter, either by a knob or a switch on your transmitter, it receives its power from the BEC, right? So you don't have a separate balance lead that plugs in. So for those of you guys that are invested into the G2 batteries from Spektrum, you can use the G2 batteries with the Night Radian and still get your lights, right? Where if you use a G2 pack with the stock controller, you're not going to get the lights on, right? You'll be able to fly it. It'll fly fine. The control surfaces will still work and your motor will still work, but you will not get your light shows. With the wing nut pack, the BEC, sends power to the receiver. The receiver sends the power to the wing nut controller. It takes all of that like kind of spaghetti mess out of the cockpit, and you can use a G2 battery just fine, and it all just works. It works great. So more stuff to think about. Paul Ballard, it's cool, man. And in that video, you know, I snuck in a link to the Night Radian too. So if you look at the video and you're like, dude, this thing is awesome, I must have this wing nut controller and the Night Radian, never fear. The description for that video has a link to both the Night Radian and the Wingnut Tech controller. So go check it out. Links in the description. Fools! Yeah, I mean, the mosquitoes here are no joke, right? But Deep Woods Off will at least make them go find somebody else at the field instead of you. Pay it forward, you dang right. So we got the F-15, links in the description. We got the UMX, or not the UMX, we got the Night Radian, links in the description for this video right here, this live stream. The AR-10360T and the AR-10100T, the new 10-channel transmitters. Quick disclaimer on the 10-channel transmitters. If you have a 10-channel transmitter, or 10-channel receivers, if you have a 10-channel transmitter that you're pairing up with a 10-channel receiver, you will not be able to, and you're using up all of your PWM channels, right? So hear me out. 10-channel receiver, 10-channel transmitter, and you've got 10 devices plugged into all your PWM outputs. So you're using all 10 channels. You're not going to have any channels left in your transmitter to change like your AS3X and safe flight modes. You're not going to be able to turn AS3X on and off. You're not going to be able to flip between AS3X and safe. You're not going to be able to set up a gain knob. You're not going to be able to do a lot of the things because those take additional channels. That's why the AR636 will work with dang near anything. The AR8360T will work with dang near anything. For this one, if you're going to use the 10360, I highly recommend using it with like an IX12 or an IX20. Sorry. Can you use it with a 10, you know, with an NX10? Absolutely, yes, you can. It pairs with the NX10 perfect, but you only have like, if you're using 9 channels, if you're using 8 channels, why not get the 8360 if you're using 8 channels? If you're using 9 channels, you're only going to have 1 channel left on an NX10. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to have more versatility out of the 10360 if you're pairing it up with either an IX10, IX12 or an IX20. And I can't say anything more about that. There are other transmitters that may or may not be on the way that will give you more flexibility without having to go all the way to an IX20. Read into that whatever you like. See, Mafia, what's up, man? All right. And the last thing that I want to talk about tonight, because I think this thing is awesome. And it's a car, and I know that this is the Air Marshal channel, and it's Air Marshal Monday, and blah, 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 shush. This is a car from a brand that I never ever thought that I would buy, right? When I was into RC cars big time back in the day, I loved my Tamiya cars. I loved my Kyosho cars. I loved Team Associated. I loved my Schumacher cars. And when Traxxas came around, I was like, heck no. We will never, ever drive Traxxas. I will never own a Traxxas vehicle. And for years, I was able to uphold that promise. But when I went to Hobbytown the other day to pick up a new propeller for my Night Radian, so fun fact about the Night Radian, you can see it awesome in the sky, but if it is pitch black outside, you can't see what's on the ground. So, be careful. Be careful what you're flying into when you're trying to land. I hit the pilot fence at Neffy twice, and finally cracked the prop on the pilot fence. But what I'll say in its defense is the thing is it's tough. That Night Radian is tough. It can take a licking. So I have had this animosity towards Traxxas because they were trying to compete against some of the best companies in the industry, right? Like they were trying to get into like buggy racing and two-wheel drive buggy and four-wheel drive buggy back in like the late 80s, early 90s. That was a game where only a couple of people could play. You had like Associated, you had Losi. Losi was a fairly new company, but Losi was kind of born from Associated. Weird stuff going on there. There was a lot of stuff going on back then, and like if you wanted to dominate in two-wheel drive buggy, you drove Associated or Losi because everybody else was getting their butts handed to them. And in four-wheel drive, you had, it was still like Losi, Associated, Kyosho. I mean, there was another big brand that I can't think of it right now, but there was another big brand that was a Japanese brand that just made Yokomo. Yokomo made some bad to the bone four-wheel drive cars, and they still do. But Traxxas was trying to compete with them, and I was like, you guys can go suck an egg, right? Like, I'm not driving your cars. I am going to run Associated because these guys are awesome, and your buggy sucks. And it did. And then they got smart, and they just started, like, dominating the RC surface world by making these crazy things called basher trucks. Like, what the heck is a basher truck? Some people didn't feel like racing RC cars. They felt like just beating the crap out of them. And these basher trucks that they started getting into, like the Slash, these short court trucks and basher trucks, just started to dominate the market. And that has been their bread and butter ever since. But obviously they are making, better cars today than they've ever made in the past. And this one, I love the C8 Corvette, right? I love this car. When it was released, I was like, dude, I want one of those. But now I see that they're not maybe the car that I would want to own, but I still love the look of the C8 Corvette. Apparently this was just released. I don't follow Traxxas, right? But it was just released, and I saw it at Hobbytown and was like, dude, it was one of those things that I didn't mind buying at Hobbytown because I don't get a discount on anything Traxxas. So what difference does it make if I pay full price or not? And I went ahead and I paid for it. And I tell you, it's got some really slick features. And one of them I'm going to show you, right? So right now I'm holding this just by the body, just by the polycarbonate shell. That's it, right? No clips, no nothing. I reach up under there and the body is off. It's got two little speed clips that hold the thing on. If I stick it back down on there, I can now pick it back up by the body, shake that thing around. This body is not coming off. There are no clips anywhere. It's one of the coolest, body mounting systems that I've seen yet on an RC car, and it's made by Traxxas, and it just destroys my heart to know that Traxxas could have something so cool, right? But some of the details on this thing are just awesome. You know, as I've said, I'm a sucker for the C8 Corvette. They did a fantastic job with this thing. It's got some features, I mean, just the scale details on it are fantastic. It looks phenomenal. The silver is a limited or special edition. So they're not going to be making this one forever. So if you want one, you got to get it now. Now, getting into this part of it, this is one of the reasons that I wanted this car, right? It is it's still a Traxxas, and everything about it upsets me that I like it. But it's not that bad, right? It's got good steering. You know, the suspension works well. It's it's not like this isn't something that was made for competition. It was made to go scooting around. And it's only 10th scale, right? Out of the box, it includes excuse me, you can either run it on, I think they said you could run it on either 6 or 7 cell nickel metal hydride pack, because it's a brushed motor, or you could run it on a 2S LiPo. So it's not a purpose-built drift car, but it can drift for sure. So just looking at like some of the construction techniques and things that they've used, I mean, it's got a fantastic servo saver on the steering servo. I mean, it's put together well. It's definitely not the Traxxas that I remember. You know, Traxxas back in the 80s was junk. Early 90s, it was just garbage. You know, they were bringing toys to a modeler's game, and it just wasn't going to work for them. But you know, this is not bad at all. Now, my intention with this vehicle is to turn this into a brushless madman. So tomorrow, I have arriving a 3300 kV in-runner brushless setup that is going to run on 3S, and I believe it is going to get this car where right now it'll go about 30 miles an hour with this brush setup in it. With the brushless setup on 3S and just the weight of this car, because it weighs nothing, I think we're going to be able to get this thing up to about 80 to 90 miles an hour. And that is super exciting. So, you know, right now with and what's ridiculous, right, is it is a 10th scale car at 30 miles an hour. That is scale 300 miles an hour. But it just doesn't look like it's going 300 miles an hour. You know what I mean? It doesn't look that fast. But it's all-wheel drive. So it's going to get the grip that it needs to put the power onto the ground. It's not just going to sit and spin out. So I'm replacing all of the Traxxas electronics with Spektrum electronics. So I'm getting back to the side of me that wants, I want Spektrum radio gear. So I'm putting, I think it's the 6110 AT or the AT 6110. This was $350, Kenny. Sea Mafia, it's got a front splitter on it. So I know you can't see it, but it's definitely there. You know, I mean, it's a pretty scale, you know, rendition of the C8 Corvette. Now, it doesn't sit as low to the ground as it probably needs to. I done said $350, Kenny. $350. Oh, by the way, there is a link in the description. It just takes you straight to the Traxxas website. I don't have any affiliate partnership with Traxxas. So it just takes you straight to the Traxxas website, and you can get it there. Or if you want to go and support GB or support Pilot Ryan, you can go to their A-Main links. I don't have A-Main links, but you can get Traxxas stuff from A-Main if you want to go and check that out. So Brian Chambers, yes, this comes with the Titan 12-turn 550 or 550 size can, right? So this is not one of the smaller 540 size cans. It's a 550 Titan 12-turn motor that they've got in this thing. It's not very fast. It's a little bit sluggish, but all the rest of the stuff that's in here, if you were to buy just the chassis kit, right? So this is called, I believe, the 4-track. It's an all-wheel drive chassis. This one's got a little bit longer wheelbase, so it should be a little more stable at high speeds. And, you know, this 4-track 3.0, I mean, all of the components of it are great. And if you buy the 4-track 2.0 kit, it comes with a 3500 kV motor that runs off a 2S system max. I'm putting a 3300 that can take 3S, so I should be able to get more speed out of the 3500 at 2S. So I'm going to be ripping the servo, the stock ESC, so I'm putting in the Spektrum Firma 85 amp ESC. I'm swapping out the motor for really it's a Hobby Wing motor. It's a 3300 kV in-runner, and I'm swapping out the Traxxas receiver for a Spektrum AT61, or maybe it's an AR6100 AT, something like that. And it's their AVC receiver with the auto or the advanced vehicle control, or whatever that A stands for there. It's like a gyro for the front wheels for super fast speed. Because, these things just get out of control, and that thing's going to, like, keep it nice and steady when it's just screaming. So, while I have I don't think that this thing is going to be able to, well, yeah, you just never know. We're going to put the big pinion on it, and I'm going to try to see if I can get this thing to keep up with, like, an infraction. That's going to be awesome. So that was my goal, right? Get this little bitty car in 1/10 scale and stick it up against, like, the infraction, the limitless, the what's that other just bad to the bone one that Arma's got? The felony. You know, so like the infraction, the limitless, and the felony. If I can get this thing to keep up with those, that'll be amazing. And I just love the C8 body, right? So I'm going to order another body for it, because I do not expect this one to live long, especially if I am running against, some of these crazies like Bobby K and C Mafia and Pilot Ryan. You know, you put these things out there with them and your car's getting hit by something. It's either getting hit by other cars or it's getting hit by airplanes. Bobby K just likes to run airplanes into cars while they're driving, you know, but I am going to try my darndest to tune this thing up and get it just turning and burning like a C8 Corvette should. And we'll see what happens. We'll document it. Hunter Yoakum, that's awesome. Oh, you shut your mouth, Maddie. It'd go faster with a Ford body. You know, I do think that this same chassis, Traxxas, makes this car with a 4GT body on it. So they have like the 4-track or whatever they call this chassis. They have this chassis with a 4GT body on it. Dennis Farley. That's funny. Excuse me. So there's some things that you guys can't see. So I'm going to use my nifty zoom tool to kind of zoom in on some of the features that, you know, when I was looking at it, I was like, you know what, man, that is super slick. So get ready to zoom in. Here we go. It won't stop zooming. Can you see it? Can you see it? Can you see inside the wheel? Check this out. I wonder, there we go. Can you see the brake disc and the caliper? The brake disc actually moves inside the caliper. And I was like, what? Come on. That is just super slick. Oh, and let's take a look at the motor. So they've got the engine bay. You can actually see the engine in the back of the car. How cool is that? This thing is sweet. You've got the little exhaust tips on the back, you know, the very realistic tail lights. This, your front grille. I mean, they did just a bang up job on this thing. And what's cool is you can get a light kit for it. So like the brake lights and the front lights and all that stuff will light up, which this thing is it's absolutely going to need. I got to have lights. I just love this stupid car, man. I think it's awesome. No, it also doesn't have smoke like a real Corvette. But I think it's cool. This is absolutely one of my favorite cars to come out of America in a long time. You know, the C8 Corvette, the looks of it, you know, like they finally made it look like a supercar, right? And I mean, the real one, the specs are fantastic, but I just have not heard a lot of great things about how they're holding up. You know, the first year of production has apparently been, there have been some hiccups with the old C8 Corvette. And you know, I'm sure that Chevrolet will get them figured out. You know, this is just the Corvette in general is too iconic a platform for them to not figure it out eventually. So I hope they stick with the mid-engine design. I think that was a nice, you know, a nice change for Chevrolet. But, you know, this isn't a car show. Yeah, who is going to RC Fest? You know, since I took the light controller out of the night Radian, I could put some crazy lights on the bottom of this thing. Although I have no idea what I did with it. Somewhere around here, I've got the light controller that came out of the night Radian. Here it is. Booyah. So yeah, I could set up lights on the bottom of this Corvette to make the bottom like glow in all kinds of different colors, and use the little night Radian light controller to make them do different crazy things. That'd be pretty cool. So C Mafia says that you guys will see me at RC Fest at Eli Field, and that's not going to happen. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be up at RC Fest. That is a long drive. If I go there at all, I'm like flying into Chicago or wherever, and someone's got to come get me. So if I go to Null in the fall, it's not to stay there. I may come for a day, maybe two, but Null in the fall is one of those things that, like, it's so close for me. It's more like a day trip than it's more of a day trip than a stay trip, if that makes sense. I may drive over there, hang out for a little while and come back home, but it's going to be one of those things where I come just to say hi to the people, maybe fly somebody else's plane just to say I flew a plane at Joe Knoll, and then get out of there. I'm not that close. I'm not 45 minutes. For me, it's about 2.5 hours. But, it's not one of those things where I think I want to stay there the whole time. Yeah, George Watch, I hear they've got a Z06 C8 coming out and a ZR1, which is going to be sweet. Like, I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can do with the ZR1 in the C8, because, I really love the C8 platform. I think that they've done a lot of really cool things with it, but they've got some tuning to do. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, so the speed control, the firmware speed control, and the motor and receiver should all be here tomorrow. So I may. What day is tomorrow? So Jeff's Custom RC goes on tomorrow. What time is Jeff's? Is Jeff's Custom in here, or Dustin? Either one. What time do they normally go on Tuesdays? Like 8:30, something like that. Keith Christie. So Keith Christie's not lying. He says the Vet will probably be cheaper than the pickups, and you can get the C8 in like its base model for like 70 grand. I think it's 68,000, something like that. So he's not wrong. And even like a base model C8, I mean, this is a sexy beast, dude. I love the way this thing looks. I mean, what a great looking car to me, right? But it's so impractical. Like, what would I ever do with a car like this, right? Like, I can't get airplanes to and from the field in it. I needed to be practical too, not just awesome. But trust me, man, I've thought about it. I've thought about like going and splurging a little bit and getting a C8 Corvette. But now that they've got the dang ZR1 coming out, in a couple of years, they've got the Z06 coming out. I mean, now we're getting into the versions of the C8 Corvette that like, oh, that's the one I really want. And then you get, I mean, there are C8s now that you can already get well into the 100 plus, price range. I have a feeling that the ZR1 version of the C8 is probably going to be one of the first U.S. sports cars. Well, I don't know. I don't know how much the 4GT was, but I also don't know what kind of production levels they had on the 4GT. But I could see the ZR1 version of the C8 sitting at like the 180 to 200,000 price point. No kind of plane is fitting in a C8 Corvette. Nothing. But if you've got one of these and you go to an air meet, I promise you I can convince at least one person there to let me fly their planes if I give them a ride in the car. I don't even have to let them drive it, right? I'd just be like, dude, let me fly one of your planes. And he'll be like, let me drive your car. And I'll be like, no, but I'll give you a ride in it. It'll be the ride of your life. And he'll be like, all right. Right. It's always list, right? Yeah, I think that the list price on a ZR1 C8 is probably going to be in that 180 to 200,000 price point. And that's going to make some people choke on their, throw up in their mouths a little bit. And that's okay. Yeah. Once I actually get the planes in the air, I can fly them pretty good. Unless I'm just flying further away than I think I am, and then maybe they go into a bush or something. So we'll see what they do with them. It'll be interesting to see what they do with the C8s. Once the Z06, and I mean, I hope that they do a Grand Sport in the C8. I'm not sure if they ever did a C7 Grand Sport, but the C7 ZR1 was a beast. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. A B2 LX. Blech. I'm just not a fan of the LX models. So, for those of you guys that are interested, I may tomorrow, before Jeff and Dustin go on, I may fire up a live stream around 5 o'clock to do all of the upgrades that are coming in for this, because I want to get that done, and then we'll probably go live again to take it out to do the first test run, you know, with like the mobile stuff, just around the neighborhood. Nothing crazy. So, you know, I know it's an air channel, but, you know, hey, I like all things RC. And I want to see what this thing can do with a brushless setup in it. You know, maybe we should do like a before and after stream. You know, we'll do a stream. Maybe we'll just keep it going on the phone. We'll just do mobile the whole time. That'd actually work out okay, I think, maybe. So if we do it mobile the whole time, we can set up a stream, go live on mobile, go out and see what this thing does on the 2S brush system, and then come back into the studio, do the motor, ESC, and receiver upgrade, bind it to the DX5, get all of the AVC stuff working, and then take it out for a rip on the 3S brushed system, or brushless system, and see how it rips on a 3S brushless system. I just have a feeling this thing is just going to turn into a completely different car on a 3S brushless system. I am super excited to try it out. Fred Barron, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. To everybody that sends super chats and you know, PayPal donations throughout the show, you guys are all fantastic. Thank you all. I really appreciate it. So, if you guys want to see that, be sure to stop on by tomorrow. I'm going to go live probably around 5 o'clock-ish. To do all the updates. It may take a couple hours. Come by, hang out, you know, party with us a little bit. We may actually go live like 3 different times because, you know, seeing the chat and mobile is a little more difficult than making it work from the camera. So I may take that camera, move it over here, you know, where you guys can actually look over my shoulder and see what I'm doing. So we'll figure it all out, though. I'm looking forward to it. I want to see what this thing can do, excuse me, on a brushless setup. But I also want you guys to see the before and after. So, so I will see you guys tomorrow when we take the C8 Corvette, the C8 Corvette, and turn it into the brushless beast instead of this extremely, you know, just speed limited brushed, you know, looks cool but just is not that fast. Oh man, we're changing the game tomorrow. We're going to turn this into a beast, and I'm really looking forward to it. So you guys that are interested, be sure to tune in tomorrow afternoon, 5-ish Eastern time. If you can't watch, you know, the replay will be there. And we'll probably be going right up until Jeff and Dustin go live. So join me for the wonderful wrenching session of turning this Traxxas into a Spektrum powered smart car that's just gonna rip. I'm so excited. All right. So, listen, it is 9:51. So we got about 9 minutes left before I call it for the evening. Hopefully, Guniac will pop in here shortly and let us know that his stream is either happening or not. Did Guniac put anything on like Facebook saying either he's going live or not going live or whatever the case is? I don't know. I haven't heard anything. Usually he'll let us know in advance if he's not going live. Hopefully he's going live, and if he is, you will see his show pop up in at about 10:15 Eastern Standard Time, 7:15 Pacific. Did he, Fred Barron? Oh, man, this is America. Yeah, Ryan, I think the car's going to fly figuratively and literally. I think this thing is going to get airborne. I think the front splitter, I mean, I can slip my finger under it. Just barely, but I can stick my finger under it. And I think it's going to lift the front end up off the car. And this bitch is going to whoosh and be upside down on the ground. It's going to be all over the place. Ooh, Ron. So I'm not as worried about like getting off right on time. You know, if you guys want to hang out for a little bit, we certainly can. But not too much longer, right? Because I need to go to bed and all that good stuff. Or I need to go take a quick break. Yes, exactly, George Watts, like NASCAR fly. It's going to go airborne. It's going to flip. It's going to do all kinds of crazy stuff in the air. It's going to fall on the ground. The whole body's going to break into a million pieces. And you guys are all going to see it live. It's going to be awesome. Or this thing is going to, you know, because it's so low to the ground, right? Like there's nothing to this thing. It is going to go straight into the storm drain. Like whoosh. You know, because the storm drain at the end of our cul-de-sac, it's one of those ones where the opening is like this big. Yes. This car will go straight into the storm drain. And I'll go over there and I'll pull the manhole cover off and I'll jump in there and get it too. But I want to see how it's going to do with everything just stock, the way it sits. And just have it as like a touring car. Boss 223. It would have been nice too. That would have been awesome. That sounds like a terrible problem to have, right? But, you know, I could be shocked. This thing may stay just absolutely stuck to the ground because it does have, obviously, you know, they copied a car that's extremely aerodynamic. You know, the Corvette is no slouch in real life. So maybe it's going to stay stuck to the ground just fine. You know, the real car, the weight distribution on the car is not that much different on this one as it is to the real one. You know, but as we always say in the world of RC airplanes, when it comes to aerodynamics, we can change the scale of the vehicle, but we cannot change the scale of the air molecule. So we'll see. And you're right, Fred Barron. I think if I put like some drift wheels on it, it would be freaking awesome. Right now, it does have, you know, they're somewhat hard rubber tires. You know, we'll see how they, I mean, they seem to bite onto the asphalt out of in the front just fine. I haven't had, it's not like a donut machine at all. I mean, it's got some grip. So You know, with the rubber tires, I think it's going to do okay. I think with a set of drift wheels on it, you know, the drift wheels are much more like hard plastic. With drift wheels on it and it being all-wheel drive and really increasing the travel on the front steering, I think this thing will be a beast of a drift car, which would also be super slick. You know, we'll see how it goes. Ah, nice. So Eric Heil says he ran one on brushless on a 4S system and it was good to go. Yeah, George Watts, you know, the only thing that I am even kind of, you know, worried about is the amount of, you know, clearance at the front bumper. But I think that the faster it goes, the more compressed that suspension is going to get. You know, because it does have some room, you know, to compress down. So, I mean, if that holds up, you know, and it starts compressing that suspension down, it may be fine. You know, because it's four-wheel drive, I shouldn't see it, you know, kind of favoring towards like the rear end squatting or the front end like lifting way up or anything like that. I mean, it should stay at about the same ride height that it is, and hopefully it doesn't just completely like let loose and just do like crazy donut burnouts everywhere. Like I want this thing to be stupid fast. Did I check about what on the time change, Brian Chambers? Which part are you talking about? Are you talking about like in Georgia, where we may not be changing the times anymore? So EQ, the battery in this car goes on the side, right? So you've got your motor here, you know, so it's like a mid-mount motor. You know, the brushless motor that I'm putting in there is substantially bigger. I think it's longer, but it's about the same width. You know, we're going to be putting the speed control in a little bit different place, and that's okay. We may have to move the speed control a little further forward, cut some things out of there with a Dremel tool. You know, we're going to have to get a little crazy with it to get everything to fit. And we'll get rid of this stupid Traxxas plug. I don't even know. I mean, I guess I get it. The TRX, you know, battery plug, whatever. It's Traxxas' own thing. I mean, Spektrum did it with the EC battery connectors, so, or Horizon. You know, I can't get mad at them. So yeah, I think that once we get all of the stuff put into the new one, I mean, we'll get to see what this puppy can do. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I think it's absolutely just going to rip. This thing is going to be a beast. And, you know, yeah, like I was saying, the battery sits
playing from damned O2
here on the left side. And, you know, it's going to add a good weight distribution, you know, with all the motor and everything sitting on the right, battery on the left. You're going to have good weight distribution. Your center of, you know, like your weight distribution across the tires is going to be good. You're not going to have a huge amount of weight up front. You're not going to have a huge amount of weight out back. So it should balance well. you know, right now it's balanced pretty close to the center of the chassis. I'm trying to find like that balance point. I should probably do that with the body on. Anyway, I mean, we're pretty close to the center of the chassis where the car balances right now, which is great. You know, that's right where I want that balance point to be as far as the weight distribution goes. We'll see, man. It's all talk until I get the new motor and stuff in there, and then we get to let it rip and see what this puppy can do. So Brian Chambers, right now it is 10:03 p.m. Eastern Time. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit heavier from running a 3S battery instead of a 2S. Depending on how it does on the 3S system, I may go crazy and do like a, you know, whatever the highest kV motor I can run on a 4S pack is. I definitely don't want to try and run 6S in this thing. I think that's a little too much. But I may be able to get away with a 4S power plant in it. You know, without just tearing the thing up completely. So, but I think 3S is probably the sweet spot on like such a small, lightweight car. I think this thing is going to run like hell on a 3S system. It's going to be bad to the bone. Yeah, steel spur gear is not a bad idea. For the first couple of speed runs, I think the stock spur gear, I want to say, is like a 15 or a 16 tooth, or no, the stock spur gear. I don't know what the spur gear is. Yeah, steel spur gear is probably not a bad idea. So the pinion in it, I think, is either like a 15 or 16 tooth pinion, but it has another one. I think it's got a 24 foot or a 24 tooth pinion in the like in the pack of stuff that it comes with, you know. So I got to look through there and see what I got as far as pinions go. But, you know, regardless of whether or not I've got, you know, the right spur gear in there today, I'm still going to try to run it tomorrow on the 3S system with that 3300 kV motor and see what it can do on the tall spur gear that comes with the kit. And if I just blow out everything in the transmission, we will go to all steel gears. Hopefully I don't have to rebuild any diffs tomorrow. That would suck. But it does have very, you know, like the drive shafts in it don't look very, very sturdy. You know, it's got very thin, like the drive shafts that go to the CV joints are not very thick. So I definitely see me breaking some stuff. Oh, I mean, we'll see. Like, I got like the most powerful 3S system I could find, right? So, I mean, I think this thing is going to haul ass on the 3S setup that I put in it. You know, but if I can get like a 3000 kV motor that'll run on 4S, I'm down. or an even more, higher speed motor. Most of the 4S systems I've seen though have been like the mid 2000s is about as high a kV motor as you can get that's still rated for 4S without just blowing blowing stuff up. So this will be cool, man. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna jump off here. I appreciate everybody coming out and hanging out tonight. Be sure to tune back in tomorrow around 5 o'clock. And we'll be going live again when we do the power system upgrades, the power system and radio system upgrades on this Traxxas C8 Corvette. I know a lot of you guys are airplane guys, but hey man, I like them all. And if you're interested in seeing what the process is of turning a brushless or a brushed, ready to run into a brushless beast, stop on by, hang out with me, and let's play around with this thing tomorrow. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Be sure to go and check out my wingnut light controller video that we released just prior to the show tonight, and I would appreciate that. Hey man, Brian Chambers, that's part of the game, baby. You know, when you got a car that looks like this, it doesn't want to just sit here, man. This thing wants to go fast. Like Ricky Bobby, like, I want to go fast. Shake and bake. Shake and bake. Shake and bake, Brian Chambers. Shake and bake. That just happened. My dog is so stupid. Anyway, guys, I will see y'all tomorrow. Again, thanks for hanging out tonight. If you're watching this show on replay, or if you're watching it now, check the description. You'll find links to everything that we had in the show tonight. You'll find links to the 10-channel receivers. You'll find links to the F-15. You'll find links to the Night Radian. You'll find links to this here Traxxas car. So, if you're looking to buy any of that thing, I appreciate you guys using those links. For all the other things that you need to change your RC life, head over to rcairmarshal.com, and all of my affiliate partners are listed there. If you click on any of the links at rcairmarshal.com, those pay a small commission to me at no additional charge to you, and it is one of the best ways that you guys can support the channels outside of just straight up direct donations. As always, guys, be sure to watch all the videos that we put out, like, share, subscribe, turn on the notifications. There's only like 400 people that are subscribed to the channel that have the notifications turned on. So either you don't really like the videos or you didn't know you had to do it. So be sure to ring the bell, man. Otherwise, you won't see when we have like live shows and new videos and all that fun stuff. Anyway, guys, I love y'all. Thank you for coming by, and we will see you tomorrow afternoon. See you then, guys. Have a good night.